everybody, this is Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I have a massive board filled for this massive project. It is an October daily project using the Halloween kit from Ali Edwards, and I have not done a process video that is this long in quite some time. So I hope you are ready and maybe even a little excited to see how this is going to come together. I almost walked away from this project and said no more. But I stuck it out, and I was able to figure out a way to make this work. As you can see, I have some pocket pages, and I thought I was going to be able to do some flip ups and, oh, that would be so fun. And then I even had a new page protector that I thought I was going to try that I got from scrapbook.com. That didn't work. So I eventually went to Plan C, my tried and true white cardstock size 2 outside the page protector. And so that is going to work. And I am going to build 10 3x4 sections basically to house 10 little stories from October. This month has completely flown by, and it's just a different season with us doing soccer so many nights and days during the week. So not a lot of festivity going on around here, but there is a lot of everyday stories, and so I wanted to find a way to capture those in my October daily. So I am going to use the Halloween kit papers and use them as flip ups and flip downs for the different stories. I also have some Studio Calico transparency numbers off to the left that I've never used, so I'm going to go ahead and use those to number each of the stories. I'm starting in the bottom corner with the photo of my bestie and I. For this pocket, I will be using just the white paper that I love to stamp on, and I'll also use a vellum pocket flip up for this photo of my daughter and I. Thought that would be fun, and like I said a little bit ago, I'm going to use the Halloween papers from Ali Edwards. So a really fun mix of different papers, because the pattern papers in the Halloween kit are fantastic, but I just didn't want them to be too overwhelming. So when I started out folding the paper, I wanted to fold it at 3, the 4-inch mark. And then I wanted to fold it a little bit more, so like 4.5. So I was using my bone folder and then, the scoring board. And eventually I'm just going to get rid of that because I'm like, I'm going to just do it by hand. And this is where I kind of realized that I love this script paper, but the way that I was cutting it, the way I was going to flip it up, I was not going to be able to get one of the orange words. So I'm going to wind up making it so that way it flips down, and then I will have the photo of my bestie and I will fix that and kind of like rip it up, I guess, for lack of a better word, rip it up and then make the flip go down. That way there is a second flip that goes down. So I wanted to have that consistency because I had to have some orange words in my scripted pocket for story number 3. So I go ahead and just fix that, and then I can carry on with the rest of building these different pockets. I picked the star gray pattern paper. Again, I will get out the scoring board so that way I can mark my lines, and eventually I will just say, forget it, I can do it myself. But for now, the scoring board is helping me out. I also wanted to mention that all of the pieces you kind of see at the top of my board, I cut out with my Cameo because I wanted to have the pieces a little bit more, well, not a little bit. I wanted them to be flat. So like those circles up there, I wanted those to be flat, and then the tags, I wanted them shrunk down a little bit. And then the butterflies are from one of the seasons mini kits that were included when you purchase the class. So I went ahead and used those, and then what I did is I just added a white stroke in my Photoshop element, so that way there was a nice white outline around the butterfly. The photo of my husband and I lounging around has 2 photos on it, and because I wanted to make sure I get my cat in the photo. And I also have this great like icon paper that I'll punch out a 1.5-inch scallop from. And I did the same thing with October Magic. I just added a white stroke to that, and the vellum pocket will make it so it's see-through. And this was the only photo that I could not get to be a complete vertical. So that's why it is a square, and that's okay. And that's also kind of why I did the vellum, because it's kind of the special photo. But it is a special photo because we had such a good night that night. I took one of the pumpkin circles and just trimmed a little bit off so it could be flush with the right hand side. Story number 7 is about enjoying some Cocoa Pebbles. So I went ahead and grabbed that icon paper again and punched out the little candy symbol, which I think is perfect for the Cocoa Pebbles. And then I will add it to the little card in front. So that's why I have all these embellishments laid out and cut out through my Cameo, so that way I could kind of decorate each of the front of the stories. So I'm just excited to use all the different embellishments that I have picked out. I even took some of the words from the Stories by the Month kit, One Little October Story, and more, and I added a white stroke to those as well and cut those out with my Cameo. I'm going to go ahead and grab the more and add that to the hiking photo down below, and my best friend photo is going to get One Little October Story, and I will put that up at the top. And once I get the transparency numbers on, I can go ahead and figure out where I want to put the numbers. I know that with the numbers, I'm going to go ahead and just not put them like at the same height. I will just do it different, kind of staggered, because it doesn't really matter, and it doesn't take away from the design if I do them at different heights. I am grabbing one of the brown diamond papers, and I will use that for story number 4. I almost thought about not using that pattern paper since it was so bold compared to the other pattern papers that I used. But I am going to have to include a flap or flip out to accommodate not only my title, but the extra 2 photos that I wanted to include. Here's a fun little trick that I did. I wanted to use the banner Love This Season, but I didn't need it this long. So I took the banner portion, cut it off, and then scooted it up so I could basically put the banner little piece, pennant, at a different spot, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't need it that long. I thought I was going to put it on story 4, but I really didn't like how it was sitting with the house, so I decided to put it vertically down on story 8. Well, actually, eventually it will become vertical, but right now it is right above the more. I am building story number 9, and again, I just took the 3x4 card and put it up with the paper, and then just folded the paper over a little bit instead of using the scoring board. And story number 9 is also going to have 2 photos, one of the fun snack plate I made for my daughter and her friend, and then a photo of them at the park. So that is going to be really fun to have that. And since they were playing a Cat Warriors game, I had the cat chipboard that I had cut with my Cameo. I also, like I said, I mentioned earlier, I printed these out smaller, and that way I could use them on 2 of the stories. And I liked how the tags were kind of bold and bright, and it helped balance out the diamond paper a little bit, since that's a very striking pattern. So I just took the little banner and put 2 mini staples in it, and I'm going to add a Something Wicked Comes This Way to story number 1 in a little bit. Oh my goodness, you guys, this project was driving me crazy. And somehow when I was throwing the transparency little papers, my camera did not turn on. And so you didn't catch some of me adding these numbers, throwing the transparency little papers, and also building my insert that is off to the right. I just used a piece of basically traveler's notebook size, 5x8, a little bit bigger, and folded that over so that way I could add the rest of my stories and also the title page. So I am sorry that my camera turned off and you missed all the action, but this is where I'm at with the project, and I am going to keep building it, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up the project with adhering all of these numbers and also figuring out how I'm going to include my little stories that I want to have. Oh boy, this project was something. Let me tell you, that's probably why this whole process video was 20 minutes, because this is quite an endeavor as far as projects go. So the story number 5 is going to use a digital journaling card from the October Stories by the Month kit. And I have the 5 and I stapled it, and I'm going to fix that later on because I realized that I wanted to have the cutout piece one little October story. So I'm going to rip that all up in a little bit. Oh my goodness. You know, sometimes projects like these, even though they're a pain, you step back when you're finished. You're like, wow, I made that. Good job, me. At least I think we should all do that at least once in a while, especially these beast of a project, right? So I have for number 5 a picture of my daughter drawing. But first, this is where I kind of started thinking about labels, and the Halloween kit came with labels, but they're like an iridescent purple. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to work with that. So that's when I decided to go with a stamp. And like I was trying to say, number 5 is about my daughter drawing, and number 10 is a family outing. And I love those Studio Calico numbers. Do not love those little papers that are attached to the front of them. Drove me crazy. My fingers just don't work that way. For most of these numbers, I am stapling 2 staples before I adhere it to the actual flip, because it just worked better that way. But if I did attach it to the actual flip, I'm going to go ahead and attach my label to cover up those staples. That way you can't see them. I am adding some more staples to the number 2, but I had to kind of pull it off and then staple it and then adhere it with some adhesive. This is where I add the orange tag, put the 2 little staples to add that dimension. I love this mini stapler, and I added so many staples in this project. I feel like October Daily just kind of makes itself feel like a project that you can just add all the staples. And that's what I was doing. I am not going to use the hand for the number 5. I don't know. I didn't want to use it for number 5. And as you can see, it flips and covers half of the right side page. And I have this beautiful title that Allie had, and it says beautiful messes all over. And I am going to put one of the cards from the Halloween kit right on top, and so that way it says October Stories. I'll also punch out the black script font and put that up at the top, and then have another cluster of icons down in the bottom left, like a potion bottle, a spell book, and then I'm going to get out a chipboard house. I found a label that will work. It's from the August Stories by the Month, and I will use that to stamp out some labels and then attach them. Also dug through my stash and found some really old black chipboard words. I don't even know what kit those are from, but I have one that says Autumn that I put right by October Stories, and I have a few others that I will add to some of the stories. I am adding on beautiful messes. I lost the dot for the eye, but you know what? It doesn't really matter in the end, right? So I'm just adhering that down, and then I can make the little cluster at the bottom and then make my labels and go ahead and add a little bit of journaling. So this project is coming together. Come heck or high water, I am making this work, and I'm having a lot of fun making this, and I was just determined to get it to work. You know, I have, anybody has a project in mind, and you just really want to see it through and see it come to life. And that's kind of what this project was for me. So I put, like I said, a few words. And so I chose for number 5, I put make, and then number 6, I have genuine, 7 is going to be sweet, and 9 is fall, and 10 is gather. So I used up several of those. Oh, and number 3 has night. So I'm glad I used up some of those words. I still have like 20 bazillion more, but I'm getting closer to using those. I forgot to adhere down number 3, so I went ahead and did that. And also those little chipboard words are adhesive, which is really nice. And this project is coming together, and I'm so close to being done. I'm loving it. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. That way I can stamp out my labels, and I just get out a big block, and I also get out my scratch piece of paper. That way I don't stamp on my new whiteboard. So I have the label, and it's perfect. I'm so glad that I found this label because it'll work much better than the iridescent purple one. So I'm just going to stamp it several times on my white paper, and then I will fussy cut it out and kind of take it back to the numbers, and then figure out what size I want the label to be, trim it, and then write my journaling. And then that will wrap up this project. So if you're still with me, I so appreciate it. And I am having a lot of fun putting this together. Okay, I got all those labels stamped, and I am ready to cut them all out. Super easy shape to just cut out. And once I have them out, I can go ahead and start doing my journaling. I also knew it was important to me to find a space or a way to include the journaling, because that's kind of the whole point of this project, is the stories. And so I just had to include, some sort of written words about my 10 October stories. And I do try to do something similar every year, where I do 10 on 10 or just 10 stories. So the first story is going to be how my daughter and I collected the Halloween Pokemon series of cards, and it was so much fun. We opened like a pack a night, or each of us would get a pack. And then I kind of already mentioned this one. It was a girls' night because my husband and son went to a soccer game. So we bought food out, chicken sandwiches and fries, and then we got to watch our favorite baking shows together, and it was just the best time. Love girls' night. And then number 3 is going to be how my husband and I are exhausted, and so we just love watching TV. The TV photo wasn't very clear, and it was kind of weird looking, so I figured, that's the perfect spot to put the label. So I went ahead and took the label and just put it right over the TV. So that worked out great for some negative space. Number 4 is about our cute little Halloween house that we started. Very slow progress. I don't know if we're going to finish this year, but that's okay. Number 5 is about my daughter and how I love listening to her talk about her after school stories. And she is still continuing a Pokemon drawing project she started in April. So that's amazing. Number 6, of course, is my best friend. He got to come see the kids' soccer games, and the kids loved having Uncle there, and we're so surprised that he was able to come. Number 7, I mentioned this one already, but it's Cocoa Pebbles. Oh my goodness, my son got to get a treat at the store, and I didn't know it was Cocoa Pebbles, so he came home with it, and I was just I felt like a kid again. So that's what I wrote. And then for number 8 is about our hike and how we walked up the bluffs, and we got to see some turkeys walking sideways. And it was a really good time, and we love our hikes. And then number 9, I mentioned that one as well. That is my daughter and her friend having an awesome play date, and they got to pretend to be cat warriors and run around. And then we came back, and I made them a really big snack plate with some treats in the middle, of course. And the last one is a fun family day. I had originally had the die cut word "this" on the story number 9, but it wasn't going to work once I got the transparency there, so it's on the side. So I just wrote about our family day on, a Sunday. My daughter had the great idea to go bowling, and so we all went bowling. We got to have some snacks together, and we played for 2 hours straight. It was the best. And then, of course, I had to get selfies because I like to torture my people with selfies. So this is where I am going to wrestle the 5 off of this journaling card, because I really felt like I had to put the one little story die cut piece up there, so that way it was diagonal. It made for a nice visual triangle, and also just I could not just have 2 of those words, more and story, on the bottom. I just couldn't. For me and my design nitpickiness, I guess, I could not leave it that way. So I ripped up the 5, and yes, it did break the plastic a little bit, but I was still able to reattach it, and I ripped the chipboard too, but I just added in some more glue, and it all came back together just fine. So my nitpickiness worked out, I guess, because I was able to put everything back together. I have that butterfly on the 10 and re-put the label back on, and now I'm going to add another butterfly to the front by all over. And also I wanted a pop of orange. Thought about the word strip, but decided since I have one huge butterfly, I will go ahead and use that. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in the album and show you a few of the flip ups and flip downs, and whew, this project is done. I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing this come together, come to life. I would love a thumbs up or a subscribe if you're new to my channel. I so appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.